Hi, we're in a very powerful process that has started today. It's Friday, the 25th of October 2019, and we just entered the Blue Castle today. We're going into the centre, and the Blue Castle is all about transformation. So here we are on the chart. So we began back here on the 13th of July, starting this process. We've gone through the Red Castle of Awakening, so 4 lots of 13 tricinas of process. So each 13-day process takes us through that awakening. We've then been in the next 52 days of the White Castle, which is about refinement of what happened in the previous. So they're always building, they're always working. And now we're in the Blue Castle, which is the transformation. So we come into the centre of the Zolkin here. And the Zolkin is all about right relationship. Zolkin. So it's about setting things in order. It's about becoming a clear sign and being free from our ancestral wounding. So first of all, we have to become aware of what our wounding is. This is often a quite painful process because experientially we come in every 260-day cycle. We're building on what has gone before, and the gift, the gateway at this point really is to accept and surrender to what's happening rather than resist it. Because as we know, resistance is futile. It just gets more and more intense. Often we get more ill until we pay attention to what is seeking to be revealed to us and to be changed. So once we go into the Blue Castle today, we are then able to see what is up for healing. And as we've just gone into Scorpio energy on Wednesday, we are in the very early stages now of this Scorpio sun energy. Today, as I'm making this video, we are in dark moon in Virgo. And we're actually at this degree at the moment. Virgo of 24 degrees, a silver trident, psychically in tune with the collective and assigned the task of maintaining a vigil of collective awareness. You are sent to outposts to stay tuned and partake in the universal communications network. Singularly devoid of self-drive, sacrificial incarnation. Immensely far removed from the usual territory of the mind, you have been granted the opportunity to serve and to suffer. Exquisitely sensitized, brilliantly astute, and seeking and searching for ways for everybody to reconnect. Solitude, seclusion, stillness, wishing and yearning for the world to be at peace and for people to understand each other. You contribute constructively, consecrated, mystical, and right there on the inside of life, you wait timelessly for all good things to come in their season. And if you want to check that out, that's aquaorfire.net, which is the amazing channeled work of Inside Degrees. And you can use this if you know your degrees in your astrological natal chart. So check it out and Google it, and if you feel to start to explore it and understand your navigation map of why you are here. It's really an exciting time to do that now as we begin this 13-day process of Red Serpent. So in terms of what we've already gone through, I'm just going to touch on that for a moment as we're in this dark moon. We have already gone through red magnetic dragon, which brings in 4 bands of energy. Red dragon is awakening to what the Great Mother is bringing us. White wizard is the cycle that we're in now, the 13-year cycle that we're in on the planet, that began on the 26th of July. The moon goddess, all about letting the magic pass through us, understanding that there is a divine plan. It's a difficult divine plan at the moment, and so it's just being with it. We chose to come here at this time to do this journey and to become self-empowered and free, emotionally free and free of all codependent patterns, because it's time. The next process was Blue Hand, which was all about shaping our destiny by learning about tools that we can use to get clear and free, such as astrology, such as the Mayan calendar, and healing tools that we can use, which for me is emotional freedom technique. And again, Google that, check it out, it's amazing. This was finished, completed, manifest in yellow sun, which was showing how much light we are holding, how much we've transformed our shadow, how much we've become a clear sign, basically. And then we went on to the next scrolls, I call them. I haven't found a term for these processes as a group yet, so if anybody knows of one, please can you let me know the authentic Mayan Aztec terminology. So we had all that first awakening awareness, and then we went into the White Castle with Red Skywalker. And Red Skywalker is a human being who is ready to do the inner work and transform themselves. So we have Red Skywalker, the most powerful process, I believe, with 3 clear sign days. It's what initiated my journey into working with the Zolkin, and more of that later. My journey began on the 2nd of November 2011 when I got my first Mayan calendar. And then we went into White World Bridger, which was showing us what needed to die, the old story, so that we could live. We then went into Blue Storm, which was showing us how we can be in the eye of the storm, our emotional intelligence, our emotional strength, and basically showing us all our triggers, what's here to still be cleared, so that we can understand this process of our amygdala, our emotional mind. It's the emotional evolution time. So again, this time Scorpio is really going to bring up where we're not in our center. And that does have a positive intention to set us free, so we can, work with that information. It has to come up. We then completed with the manifestation of Yellow Human, which is basically showing us in the last 13 days where we actually are as a human being, the embodiment, not where we think we are, not where our mind tells us we are, where we actually are in terms of what we're experiencing in our bodies, what we are experiencing on planet Earth. And so now we go into the next scroll, which is Red Serpent, which is all about relationship and is all about how our Kundalini flows, and where it is not flowing is the key, again, to healing. Because Red Serpent is the 5th Mayan sign. And so this is really about mastery. The 5th day in any process is about mastery. It's the overtone. So Red Serpent really is the overtone. We're coming into the overtone now. So the 2 previous ones, we've seen where we are. We've become awakened. We've now understood how we are creating heaven or hell on earth for ourselves on this planet. And now we're coming into the blue castle of transformation. So here, as you can see, starting tomorrow, we have 10 portals of human evolution. And so this is intense energy. It's going to take us right down into the center of the Zolkin. And so this is the spine before we come out again at the other side. And so this particular 20-day process that we're in, the 20 days run across the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're in the 6. And we're seeing how in alignment we are, how in balance we are with what the Great Mother is bringing us, these new cosmic codes that are coming in for us to be emotionally free and in a place of truth, which is what Scorpio is all about. So Scorpio is all about the 8th house of integration. It's the birth process through death. And Scorpio's energy is all about intimacy. We've got the new moon coming up in Scorpio on the 4th day of this wave spell, which is this coming Monday, and it's at 03:38 in the morning. It's at 4 degrees of Scorpio. So I'm just going to read you that degree, which again is the same website. And it's just so magical because all of this stuff is there, you know, it's all been brought out in a creative process for human beings to work with. So Scorpio number 4, a loud roar as a tornado approaches. The storms of the world come right through where and when they are needed. They must wipe out ordinary consciousness and bring into play every kind of released spirit and force. When we live in the thick of storms and with always another threatened or impending, we are impelled into depth emotions, tumultuously drawn to activate the undersoul personally and collectively. You sense the violent urgency for everybody roundabout or whatever you are going through. And so you are plunged into storms to seek cleansing and release, to bring up what is under there and let it play itself out freely. You do this with temptations towards every obsessive or addictive state imaginable, and with a tremendous guiding force leading you through any and every extreme to make all of existence come alive from deep inside, elementally, primally, and regeneratively. So that's what's coming up with the new moon in Scorpio on Monday. And again, this is really key because by this time we will be here on yellow self-existing star. So being the star that we really are, rather than who we've been told we are, who we've been conditioned to believe that we are. And again, being able to be in truth with ourselves. Our emotional mind is very crafty and keeps us safe in some way around not going to places where we cannot cope with things that have happened to us. And for most people on the planet now, they have had things happen to them that are very deep and traumatic. And that's what I offer you as a therapist. I know a lot of people aren't aware of this because they're not therapists. They don't come into contact with other people in this intimate way with deep stories. In my world, this is the truth of it. And again, this is what Scorpio is all about, is about seeing the dark and the darkness in human beings, and how that's what it's all about, is what human beings have done to other human beings throughout time, and how we hold that in our DNA and how we can clear it and release it. And again, this all goes back to what the Zolkin is all about. It's about us getting clear. It's what all the indigenous tribe stories are about. This is the end of times in terms of human beings creating change for themselves from within. So if you noticed, the general story at this time in those little codes, sigils that I've just read for you, are all about inner work, doing the inner shift so that the outer changes. Because again, most people don't really understand that process. It's inner alchemy, it's inner healing work, and it's working with the amygdala to become clear. So we're in for a stormy time. Everyone knows that on the planet anyway. Things cannot continue as they have been doing. And the truth is, when we're at our most happiest is when we feel loved and accepted for who we are. And the more that we heal times when we haven't felt like that, the more we start to experience authentic relationship with human beings. The last 260-day cycle that we were in began on the 26th of October last year. I was over in California and went to Mexico, and I was there on 11/11 in Mexico, and that was just the most amazing time, and deep gratitude for everybody who allowed that process to happen for me and took me back to past life places for me, dear tribe in San Carlos area in Mexico. So I was there on 11/11, and 11/11 is the gateway point. It's a master builder number. Last year it was red, self-existing earth, and this year it will be white, overtone wind. And that's another key date because we are building up to where we don't feel connected to the earth, you know, everything that's happened around our tribe. So we've also got Mercury going retrograde in Scorpio on Halloween. So that's on the 31st, and that's Blue Resonant Monkey Day. And again, really key time. So Google Mercury retrograde in Scorpio and see how you can interplay with that around what you were doing last year around that Scorpio time, and what themes are going to be coming up again around the ancestors. Because again, if you see this in this way, the ancestral DNA is within us. Once you start mapping your patterns, once you start uncovering your family tree around the stories of it, you can see how we're all involved in shaping this now and bringing awareness to how that's happening for us in this lifetime. You can go back into past lives, you can go into all sorts of different directions, and at the same time what is happening to you now will take you there anyway, because where we are now is the collective of everything that has ever gone before, on a personal level and on a collective level. So it doesn't have to be complicated in a way, even though it is very complex. This is the paradox, is you just start with what's coming up for you today. And once you start to learn how to work with that on a deeper level, you have all the answers within you. You have all the seeds of everything that is seeking transformation. And once you start doing this in a group as well, if you feel a mind to coming together in a group, I currently have a beautiful group of women that we are working through this process together and healing. Again, being around other women as well, that's so key. you see yourself in everyone else. And of course, this is in Lakesh. This is what the Zolkin is all about, the mind signs, the 20 mind signs with the 13 different vibrations, and all parts of key process. We are all the same on a base level, that we are human beings and we all want to be loved and respected for who we are. So this is our common ground in relationship. So my special anniversary that's coming up on the 9th day of this wave spell, which is here, and this is how I love the synchronicity, because I've just done somebody's mind sign this morning and the charts, and reminded me of this. Red Solar Skywalker. I have been doing this calendar experientially every day now for 9 years on that date. So yeah, what magic is going to happen? For me, in terms of the Gregorian calendar at this time of year, it's been very challenging because I have my moon in Taurus, which is the opposite axis to the moon in Scorpio. And this axis is about our power struggles, it's about our survival. And the more that we heal that, the more that we do that on every level. So once we start healing the emotional body and clearing the amygdala off, we start to feel very differently because we're not in fight or flight mode all the time. We don't get triggered the same. And at the same time, we have to learn how to transform our relationship and our communication with other people now. So this is why we have to be plunged into these deep places to do it on every level, mind, body, and spirit. We're not here as a talking book. And more you might be experiencing now how things are dropping away for you, and so that you can see exactly where you are experientially. We learn experientially. We're experiential beings. That's why we're here. So most people have an understanding, an awakening to being awake, as we call it, to being conscious. That's the general term. That's just the first stage. And to go deeper than that is essential. Otherwise, we just stay on that surface level. So to be able to work with all our intimacy wounds, that's the key. That's the starting point. Anything that has wounded us around intimacy, that's what keeps coming up in other people that are archetypes of our birth family, our caretakers, our first initial experiences. And again, once you start to really understand how the cosmic codes work, it's all tagged in together. So on a food level, on what we do to cope with things. So maybe we use alcohol, maybe we use drugs, maybe we use sex, maybe we use our job, our reading esoteric stuff, going on loads of workshops, anything to avoid being present and being with ourselves and how we actually feel. And so our amygdala is wired to be addictive and to use things to not go there. Our emotional mind is really initially wired to protect us, to keep us in denial. And again, this is a really useful tip. So people who don't have any healthy coping mechanisms, shall we say, who aren't emotionally intelligent, who aren't able to cope, will not go there until they do. You know, which is why I love sharing emotional freedom technique, because anybody and everybody can do this technique, and it just is so amazing. It's life-changing. So do check it out if you haven't done already, and if you would like to know more about this wave spell or your Mayan sign, or how to work with this energy with emotional freedom technique, I do energy coaching, I do workshops, and we can work online or in person. So I hope you have an amazing, transformative time. It's the season for it, and we're here to do this process. So surrender to it, whatever it brings. Remember who you really are, and that you can cope with what's coming for you, because the universe always brings us a match for where we are. So lots of love on your journey. See you soon. Bye for now.